Hello everyone. I hope you all are doing well. My name is Arpita Bhatt and I'm the core team member at DSC GLBITM. I extend my warmest welcome to each and everyone present here on the behalf of my team. We are excited to have you get started on attending Android study jams. These valuable skills will enable you to build even more compelling projects and apps. So let's begin with the question, what are Android study jams? Android study jams are community-organized study groups for people to learn how to build Android apps using an online training course. Now let's talk about the tracks for the Android study jams. So basically, Android study jams comprises of the two tracks. First one is new to programming track and the second one is prior programming experience track. In the new to programming track, we'll learn the basics of building Android apps with the Kotlin programming language and develop a collection of simple apps to start our journey as an Android developer. Whereas in prior programming experience track, we'll first learn the essentials of the Kotlin programming language, then learn the fundamentals of the Android development and the best practices by building a variety of Android apps in the Kotlin. Let's talk about the timeline. So coming to the timeline, we need to complete both the tracks or at least the second up to 25th Jan to be eligible for a certificate. So the program's deadline is 25th of Jan 2021. Now, as per your current knowledge in the Kotlin, pick the new to programming track or prior programming experience track, complete all the pathways of that track, and earn digital badges on the Google Developers profile and certificate of completion. Let's talk about the perks for the participants. First of all, we'll earn the virtual badges on our Google Developers profile on the completion of each unit of the course, which can be showcased on our resume. Secondly, we'll get the certificate of completion too, signed by the facilitator after completion of prior programming experience track only. Remember, here I repeat, we'll get the certificate of completion only after the completion of prior programming experience track, that is track 2. We'll build some Android apps too, and the selected apps will be showcased in our blog format or on our social media accounts. Now, let's talk about the prerequisites for participating. For the new to programming track, the prerequisites are basic computer skills and basic math skills. And for prior programming experience track, you must be familiar with an object-oriented programming language. You must be familiar with Git and GitHub, and you should know how to use an IDE. You all are advised to install the Android Studio for building Android apps. Video links to install the Android Studio is already shared. One important thing I'd like to share, we'll roll out a form for a screenshot of your Google Developers profile to verify the badges for either or both the tracks and few screenshots of your app. So, for those who haven't done the registrations for this event, no need to worry. You can directly start completing your tracks from the link provided. We are going to have 2 sessions for the completion of this event. Further, these sessions are divided into several pathways. That's me at the end of my talk. So now I'll hand over to the facilitator of this event, that is Vartal. And also, in case of any doubts or questions, feel free to drop it in the chat box. We'll be happy to answer your questions. Thank you.
Hey Arpita, thank you. Hello everyone. Before starting the session, can I know am I audible to all of you? Okay, okay, okay. That's nice response. Thank you. So let's start with the session. Let me share my screen first. Mm. Is my screen visible to all of you? Hello. Okay, so I can start with my PPT. So, hey everyone, my name is Varpal Bhogda and I'll be your Android Study Jam facilitator throughout this period. So Android Study Jam, as Arpita said, that yeah, it's are the learning courses from Google for to encourage everyone to learn Android, for to develop apps in Android. So the basic information about the Android Study Jams, Arpita had given you. That was nice introduction. So without wasting any time, let's jump into the course. So as you all know that Android is a mobile operating system that is based on a modified version of Linux kernel, just like we have Ubuntu for desktop, we have Android for mobile system. So it was primarily designed for touchscreen mobile devices such as smartphones and tablets. And yeah, but with the as the technology emerged, now it's been used in our wear watches, the dashboards of our car, and also in the television. You can see many TVs come, smart TVs come with Android operating system installed in them. So Android first emerged in 2007, and by today it have around 2.5 devices running on. We have around 2.5 devices running on Android operating system. So you can say it's the largest installed base of an operating system. And also the Google Play Store features over 3 million apps. Yeah, 3 million apps. So yeah, you can say the 2.5, it's too much of potential reach. So if you build an app, you can reach up to a population of 2.5 billion. And people also prefer for any service, people also first look out for their app because you can say as it fits in your pocket, your mobile phone or the app, it fits in your pocket and it's easy to use due to its UI. And you can start making apps from now. Like there are many apps in the market, but still we have just scratched the surface. There are still many problems that needs to be pinpointed, and you can come up with a solution and an app for that. So moving on, next, but first let me guide to you through the curriculum of the course. So I would like to like you all to go to the curriculum link that was shared to you with the form. And as you all know that the curriculum is Android Study Jam. It's divided into two tracks: the track one, new to programming, and the prior programming experience. So you can pick, as Arpita said, you can pick any of the track, but you have to finish track two for to be eligible for certificate. And the tracks, let's start with the track one in the session. So the tracks, they are divided into units, unit one and unit two. Let's start with unit two. So as you can see that there are four pathways in unit one. One that says the Android basics. That the first pathway gives you an introduction of Kotlin. Yes, Kotlin, we will talk about it later. It's a programming language in which we will be building our Android apps. The second tells you about how to create a first app or how to install Android Studio in your in your device on your device. The link for that we have already shared. In the second in the third pathway, you can say it will tell you how to build some basic layouts. We will be building a birthday card app in which when you open that app, you will see that there's a birthday card popping up. And in the fourth pathway, we will build an dice a dice app in which you when press the roll button, it would give some random numbers between 1 to 6. The dice will roll and throw up a random number between 1 to 6. So now let's go back to a PPT. So yeah, what is Kotlin? So Kotlin is a modern, concise, and a safe programming language. Kotlin is a cross-platform, statically typed, general-purpose programming language with type interface. Kotlin is designed to interpret fully with Java. Yes, you can say that Kotlin is built upon Java, as Kotlin uses many of the Java libraries. Uh, the JVM version of Kotlin standard libraries depend on the Java class library, but type interface allow its syntax to be more concise. So yeah, the syntax of the Kotlin is concise. You can say it's small, not as large as Java. Like to print a statement, you have to write system.out.print, but in Kotlin, just write print or println. It will print out the statement. So Kotlin came in market around in 2011, but now last year in 7 May 2019, Google announced that Kotlin programming language will be its official programming language to build Android apps. And also, if you go to the industry and say that I'm an Android developer and I build Android apps in Java, so the interview will conclude that it's your drawback, as now industry want app developers who knows Kotlin and are building apps in Kotlin. So since and also when the Android Studio was released in 2007, the Kotlin was introduced in it as an alternative, and now we are using it as the primary language. So now moving on, why we use Kotlin on Java, like why everyone concludes that it's a drawback to use Java as a uh, app developer. So the Java, it compiles to the bytecodes, whereas the Kotlin, it directly runs on the Java virtual machine. And also the null safety, you can say it. There's an article on Medium, the $1 billion mistake, the null safety, which is not covered in Java, but yeah, we have a null safety in Kotlin. So null safety is like, okay, I will discuss it later, null safety. And Lambda expressions, you can say the one-line functions, they are not available in Java. I guess up to Java 9% available, but in Kotlin it was available from starting. In Java, yes, you have to write a lot of boilerplate code. Uh, like to create data classes, you have to make a function for setters and getters. But in Kotlin, no, we have data classes. So there are less amount of boilerplate code. You have to write less code as compared to Java. Also in Java, we do not have smart casts, but in Kotlin, we do have smart casts. So now let's jump into the Kotlin. So starting with the Kotlin, we will first learn how to print a statement, how to print a basic statement. So let's go to our first pathway, as it says the introduction of Kotlin. Uh, let's start with the code lab. So it says the first says before you begin, there are some instruction and some prerequisites before starting this pathway. So when you will be doing your pathways individually, you can go through these steps. But for this session, we will just running through some important points so that we cover the session in time. So to start with Kotlin, Google has provided a web, you can say a web editor, editor on website. So I would like you all to go to this link provided in this pathway. Somebody can please share it on chat, the link for the Kotlin Playground. That's an online editor for Kotlin apps. Uh, okay, so let's start. So as you can see, there's a basic Kotlin program, and when you run this program, it prints hello world. So moving on to this code, it says function fun, that's short for function main. So every Kotlin program that you write, it have to start from the main function. Like when you press the run button, the compiler will first search for the main function from where it have to be start, and followed by the curly braces. Yeah, when you write a function, you have to put the curly braces, and everything that you want that function to do, you have to write it in curly braces. So println, or you can simply write print. It's a function in Kotlin, a predefined function in Kotlin that is used to print the statements. So when I write print and then run the code, it also print hello world. So might be thinking that what's the difference between print and println. So what print do? The print prints the everything that's in the quotation mark, and then it the cursor don't move to the next line. But when you write println, the cursor moves to the next line. Let me show you. Print. Uh, hey, hey everyone. So when I write print, uh, you can see it's printed on the same line. But when I type println and then print, so you can see that the next statement, the cursor moved to the next line, and the next print statement, it's on the another line. So that's the basic. That's how you print some statements in Kotlin. So now moving back to a slide. Kotlin inputs. So some basic ways. Now we'll be discussing at how to take input in Kotlin. So to take input in Kotlin, the online editor, that's the Kotlin playground, it do not support taking input. So I will be now using IntelliJ. That's an online editor. That's not, no, sorry, that's an IDE, intelligence IDE that is used for writing Kotlin programs. Uh, you do not have to install this IDE to write Kotlin programs. We have we can do it on Android Studios, but Android Studio, you have to run. But in Android Studio, I didn't wrote this because in Android Studio, whenever you try to run a program, that it will, there are a lot of files that will build, and then it will launch an app for that. So to avoid all that, I will just use this IDE IntelliJ. That's for writing the simple Kotlin code. So to take input from user, the scanner function of the Java, the scanner class of the Java is used. So for that, you have to create scanner object, scanner, and then that s is a variable. You can write anything. Let me make it readable. Read. You can see that it gives it appears to be red. It's because it shows an error because we have to import that scanner class. That's from Java. Read is equals to new. Sorry, we don't have to write new scanner system dot swing dashes in read. It's showing error. Let me check what's the error. Hmm. Okay. Sorry. I'm writing in Java. So in Scanner, we don't, in Java, in Kotlin, we need to write val to define any variable, or val or var. To define any variable in Kotlin, we have to write val or var. So, and now you can take input from the error. So let's define another variable x that will take input. So now we will use the scanner object that we created, the scanner read dot next in. Now we will just print the x. Now when we run this program, it's taking some time. Okay, so you see there's no output. Yeah, because it's waiting for us to give an integer as an input. So when I write 12, it prints 12 and the process finished with the exit code 0. So that's how you take inputs in Kotlin. Another way to take input in Kotlin is just describe where string str equals to read line. So you need to use to define it's a string. Okay. The L will be capital. So it the read line function it will only take string as an input. And now let's just print our string str. Now run the code. Let's give some input. First the number and then some string. Hey everyone. And yeah, as you see, it prints our string. Hey everyone. So the read line function, it only takes string as an input. So make sure that whenever you're taking string as an input, or you can use read line function only. And now you might be thinking that why I put this colon and then string. So this what the syntax of the Kotlin says that whenever you make an variable or val, so you first write the keyword var and then followed by the name of the variable that could be x, y, z or anything, and then you need to put the colon and then the type of the variable, whether it be int or it will be string or float. Now let's see if I take int int uh, equals to 5. So yes, it takes an integer and this question mark or the val. Let's move on to our slide. So yeah, now the difference between val and variable or the var. So as I was doing that first, I was saying that first we have to write the var or the val. So the basic difference with the var and the val is that var is a short for variable. The value of the variable, as you all know, can change anytime. So when you define a variable, you can change its value further in the code. But when you define something as val, that's value. So value is immutable and you cannot change its value. You cannot change its the variable the value value further in your code. So like it's for defining the constant something, the value that you do not want to change, or you can say the constant in other programming languages that like we have. So val is for that. Let me show you with an example. Let's get back to a Kotlin playground. Now input part is over. If I define a val x is equals to 10, then I print this variable, uh, this val, and then when I again reassign it to 11, it will show me error. The val cannot be reassigned. But similarly, if I do it with var and then again print my variable, I print again so that it appears in next line. So you can see the code works, and yes, we can change the value now with the var. Okay, now let's again move back to a slide. Okay, now data types in Kotlin. So you can see that I was using some int string, but every time I was writing that int and string, the first letter was capital. So when you see some words or something have the first letter is capital, then you can infer that it's a class, as what the camel case rule says, that when you define a class, the first letter should be capital. Of every word, the first letter should be capital. So yeah, int is a class in a Kotlin. The Kotlin do not have any primitive data types like in other languages. you define int as int where I is small, but in Kotlin I is capital because the int is a class in Kotlin. It's not a primitive data type. So to use the primitive data types in Kotlin like int, float, string, double, boolean, the Kotlin have made class for each of the data type, and all the functions of those data types have been embedded into that class. So I'm sorry, from the client side. Let me get back to Kotlin breakdown. So yeah, for do I have to zoom in? Is my code visible? Can anybody unmute and tell me, do I need to zoom in?
Visible.
Okay, thank you. Uh, so for using int, like I said, colon I int. For using string, I can define var str string is equals to welcome to Android studyjams. Similarly, we can use float also. Uh, var gets FLT. Let's define this. Name this here FLT. And also the float first letter will be capital equals to 10.5. When we print them, x println str println 41 literal doesn't confirm float. Okay, I'm sorry. Yes. So when you are using float, just remember to type that f in the ending at the end. Is my pace right? Am I moving fast or slow? Let me check the comment. Okay, thank you. So now moving back to our slide. That was all about the data types. Now, yes, coming to the null safety, that's the most important topic or the most important, that's the reason that why we are using Kotlin. So null pointer exceptions, if anyone have used Java, C++, you might be facing many times null pointer exceptions that usually occurs when you try to assess something that have a value null. Like, let me show you with an example. Uh, where str, that will be a string equals to null. So when I define the string as null, this means this variable is pointing to nothing. I mean, it's pointing to null. It's like it's pointing to nothing. It have nothing in it. And when I try to assess the you can say when I try to assess the function of the string like str dot in gbh, that's a function of string. And when I try to assess those functions, you can see an error. Null cannot have a resolution. You can see that it's a null point exception. Like you cannot assess Second. Yes, it shows a null point exception. Like now you cannot assess it because it's pointing to null. It's not a string. It's not containing a string in it. It's containing a null character in. So to overcome such problems, the Kotlin developers, what they did, they created some methods or some, or you can say some ways to overcome that null pointer exception because it was harder for the developers to find where the null pointer exception is coming from. So the first way could be a safe call, like before calling. Like before calling the function of any string, you can put a question mark over here that says if you just read it that says str, then this question mark just says that if it's a null, if it's a not null value, just use the function and print the length of the string. But if it's a null value, just print out the null. You don't need to assess it. So it's none of the following. Wait a second. I think I'm going somewhere wrong. Hmm, none of the following. Let me run it on IntelliJ. Just remove this string. Hello. Yeah, question mark dot. And let me try to run it. So yes, it prints the length of the string, but when it points to null, it should print null. As you can see, okay, so that was the problem. I was typing parentheses in front of the length. So yes, you can see, and just make sure that you put the string question mark, a question mark in front of the string, as you can read it like that this variable can take null values also and the string values also. But if you just remove this question mark in front of this, then the it will say that null cannot be the value of non-null string type. Yes, it cannot take any null value to input null value. You need to write that question mark. So getting back to our PPT. So to avoid this, around four methods or the four ways were built by the Kotlin developers. The first was the safe call. That's the dot and the dot and the question mark and the sorry question mark and the dot. It's a misprint over here. And the other one is the not null operator, which can be used. That is the exclamation and the exclamation. Let me give you an example of this also. So just make sure that whenever you use this not null operator, then just make sure that you will be inputting the string that is not pointing to a null. Just make sure that your variable is not pointing to null. It would always take input a string or any other type. So yeah, it just says that was pointing to null and Java null point exception appears. So the not null operator is what helps us to determine that where that null point exception is coming from. Now moving next in a slide. Next comes the conditional statements. So condition statements in Kotlin, you can say whenever in your program you have to write some condition that, or your program is based upon some condition like uh, if the if temperature is below 15 degrees Celsius, then say it's cold out, and when the temperature is above 25 degrees Celsius, just say it's hot out. So to write the conditional statements, what Kotlin have are the if, else, and if expressions that many of you might have knowing, like other programming languages, and a when expression. So you can say it's like a switch statement, like in C and Java. So how when works, like when, first let me define a variable x equals to, let me give 1 for example. So the value of x, when it will be 1, you can say when it's 1, just uh, and your value is 1. When it's when you will give the 2 value to the x, print, let me just copy paste from here. Our value is 2. Else, you have to write that else also. Print uh, your value is not 1 or 2. So when I run this, so you can understand from this example that anything the any value that the expression in the parenthesis will have, it will switch to the condition corresponding to the value in the parenthesis. So when I give the x value of 2, it will run and will print your value as 2, because the condition corresponding to 2 was yeah, your value is 2. And you also have to put the else statement here, because in case not any of the value matches, like in case not any of the value matches, the else statement will be print out, like you have the default in C or C++. Also, the advantage of using when is that it also returns the values like functions. If I just remove these print statements, and then take a variable that is equal to this. So what this code will do, that it will first switch to the value of x, that the value that's corresponding to the x condition of the x, and then it will take the value that's stored in that corresponding condition, and it will return it to the variable that we have provided. So when you print that variable, it will print the value in it. So yes, the 3, like the value of x was 3, then it when it checked for where is 3, 3 was nowhere, so it went to the else statement and it returned this string, your value is not in 1 or 2, and then it returned that value to the string, and that's the value that we were printing. Is anyone want to write this code, or shall I go on? Let me check in chat. Okay, everything seems good. Now comes the functions in Kotlin. So the functions in Kotlin are first class, which means they can be stored in a variable. Like we are storing the integer values, some string values, double value, float values, boolean values. Similarly, in Kotlin, we can store a function, yes, a whole function in a variable. And we can also pass those functions as an argument or return those functions. Uh, so let me give an example of function. So function, you all know that function are used to reduce, or you can say, when you're writing a piece of code, when you need a piece of code many a times, so you it's better to write a function and function and then use that function, and then you call that function wherever you need that code. Like if I write a function for to add two numbers, so just type fun add followed by the parenthesis and then the curly braces. Uh, the function will take arguments, that's val a, and it should be an integer, and the val b, that should be that also should be an integer. What it will do, it will print the sum of a and b. So when you call this function, just provide two arguments like 5 comma 2. uh, okay, sorry, val is not allowed in function parameters. We have to write var of function parameter is uh, just a second. Let me make two variables and then I'll pass them. X in equals to 5, var in equals to 2. Mm, so yeah, you don't need to write anything val or var. You just simply write the name of the variable or the name of the argument and followed by the type of it, and then you can print it, and then you can use those arguments in your function. So okay, that was a lot of that was some basics of the Kotlin. Now let's take 2-minute breaks, then we will begin with the Android. So then we will begin with the basics of the Android. Okay, so now let us start with the Android. So now I request everyone to open up your Android Studio. Let me close this file, look, project. So now, like you all can see, when you have this. Okay, so now when you all have installed your Android Studio, something like this, the Android window might have appeared. Okay, so now let's start with the sample project. Uh, Start a new Android Studio project. Uh, oh, okay, then let's click on empty activity. You can see there are more activities like basic activity, some bottom navigation activities, some Google Map activities like Uber and Ola have some navigation drawer activities. The navigation drawer that swipe sides from the left, you can see in many apps some scrolling activity. But since we are on basics, let's start with the empty activity. Then click on next. Okay, for the name of this Android application, let's uh, give it name as birthday card, because that's we'll be building in our third pathway. Uh, the location, you can choose any location as you want. Me, okay, Android study jams, birthday card 2. The language, make sure you select the language as Kotlin, not Java. And the minimum SDK, you can keep it any you want. I'm keeping it Android APK 16. Click on finish. So that's our Android project that was appear that should appear when you build your first Android project. Now let's get back to our pathways or a curriculum. Now, okay, I should have opened it in a new link. Let me browse back. New programming track, unit 1. Okay, so the second pathway, let me give you a quick review of this, quick, so that you can do it afterwards. So the first code app that stays the download and install of about the Android Studio app that uh, we have shared you the video link of that, so you can refer over there. Then create and run your first Android app. Yes, as soon as you create your project, this new project, you can click the run button and it will run. Let me show you that how it appears. Will retry. Okay, it's wiser so that I can display my mobile screen to you. It's disconnected. Let me first connect my visor. Okay, it's connected. So as you can see, when you run your first app, it just appears it just says hello world, and yeah, that's your first app that you have made. You can see that it's printing hello world because in the layout activity main.xml, this file defines the layout of your app. So you can see the layout. We have designed the layout to just print hello world, and it's printing hello world only. Now getting back, and then run your then your app on mobile device that we just did. Now let me get back. So that was a quick review of pathway 2, that it just contains some documents on how to get started with Android app that I'll be explaining you uh, while the session goes on. So now let's go to pathway 3, where we will build our first uh, you can birthday card app. Let's start with the first code lab. So before starting the code lab, let me just give you a quick review of what all appears, what are the files that we'll be working on. So when you look over here, you can see that there are some views like project views, packages, project files. So when you click on project view, you can see this is the name of your project, or the root folder where all your files and folders related to the app appears. So Now switching from you can say the switching from making a single file, like up till now we were making just a single file in Kotlin and then running those programs. So the switching from making a single file program to the multi-line project can be difficult task. Likewise, new Android developers usually gets confused seeing Android's multi-file project. Like there you can see a lot of files. So a project, you can see the project, it's consists of different types of files, requires a build tool to build the project. The build tool are the programs that automate the creation of your executable application from source code. So you can see there in the build folder, you can see there are some files, Kotlin files, session, and there are more Gradle. Gradle, that's a build tool uh, for making the Android, for building the Android apps, or building the Android project files. The various tools like Ninja, Maven, Make, and Gradle that can be used for different types of Android projects. So earlier we were using Maven to build Android applications in Eclipse. That was another IDE. But now in Android Studio, we will be using build uh, Gradle build tool. So now moving on to .gradle file, the folder, sorry, that's the first folder that appears here. So this is a hidden folder. It is used to store downloaded libraries and Gradle caches, like you can see. It also contains snapshots and other automatically generated files. But generally there is no need to touch this folder as we don't need any files that is automatically made by the Android Studio. So now moving on to the .idea folder. Android Studio is based on the IntelliJ by JetBrains. The IntelliJ is another IDE that I was just using in front of you all. So all IntelliJ IDEs store some settings, like the settings of the IDE. You can say the setting of this Android Studios. These are all stored in this .idea folder. Example, like uh, if I am using, if I just increase this font size, and when I close this project and then again I open up this project, the next time then I will see that the font size is again the default one. So all these settings, these are stored in the .idea folder. Now app folder that I will tell you later. Now going to the build folder. When we build an Android app, various temporary files are generated, like compiled files or some compressed files. So these generated files are present in this folder. So this folder contains all the materials that are used to build. So the build folder contains can be deleted to start a clean build of a project. So like when I build this project, here make project or rebuild the project, so all the files that are required for the building of this project appears over here. You can just delete all those files, then you can have a fresh start. You can press start in case your app crashes or something went down, so you can rebuild the project. That's rebuild do is it just deletes all the files over here. So now moving on to the Gradle. In Gradle folder, we have a wrapper folder which has a file for Gradle properties. It denotes the version of Gradle that is to be used to build the project. Android Studio automatically makes it for the latest version available. Here, this files contains all the information. Then the Gradle.properties file. This file has a Gradle property needed at the time of execution. Like you can set the RAM limit consumed by the Gradle, the RAM of your laptop. Then moving on to build.gradle file. So we are depending on Gradle plugins to run our project. Like we need some plugins, Gradle plugins to run our project. So in this file, Gradle plugin version is mentioned for the whole project. Android Studio version and Gradle plugin version should be same. If you open an earlier project, then this version should be changed to match the current Android Studio version. Then you can see here is the settings Gradle file. In this project module, which are needed to be built are listed in this file. By default, it only has app. So now let's get back to the app folder. That's an important folder. All the folders that I described, we won't be touching them. We just want to do everything in the app folder. So let me switch to the Android view. So what Android view do, it just gives me the snippet or the snapshot of the folders that I will be using. So in the app, uh, let me explain you from the project view itself. So in the app folder, this is the default application module or the folder named as app. It has all the folders and file associated with our application. You can see here also it has a build.gradle file. So the Gradle file that is contained in app, we say it as an app based or app level build.gradle file, and the build.gradle file that is out of this app folder, we say it as an project based build.gradle file. So this Gradle file uh, penetrating to the module, Gradle files are written in language known as Groovy. The various component of the file are described in here in this file. So now moving to the SRC folder, that's SRC, that's short for source. So herein we will be writing all our source code. So the folder contains all the source file of the project, multi-flavor of the apps. Then you can see Android test. You can see it's in Java. So Android test file, we won't be touching this also, as it's for writing the test cases for our apps for our project. And then you can see the main folder, and the in the main folder this contains the main source code of the application. Whenever an APK is generated, it contains source code present in this folder. So when you generate the APK of your project of your app, that you can generate from here, build bundles and then build APKs. So that APK will contain the source code that you have written in this folder, uh, that you have written in this folder. Then you can see an Android manifest file. So it's a most important file of your app. It contains the metadata of your app, and also whenever you publish your app or you upload your app to the Google Play Store, the Google Play Store will go through your manifest file to ensure that your app is safe for the community or the users that will be who will be using this. Then in the Java folder, this folder contains the folder name is Java, but it can contains the Kotlin files or the Java files in whichever language you are building your app. But we'll be building in Kotlin, so it will contain the Kotlin files. Or you can say the main activity, that's the default file in which all we will writing all our code. So moving on to the resource, yeah, this is also an important folder as this contains all the resource file required in our application. The files are logically segregated into their respective folder. So images needed in the app should be put in the drawable folder. You can see there's a drawable folder. So all the images that our app require, like some icons or for icons of a backgrounds, we will putting them in the drawable folder. Then the layout folder contains the Android XML layout files, which can be used in activities or segments. Like you can see in layout, it contains activity main.xml file, uh, which describes how the layout of our app or the UI of our app will look like. Then the values folder contains values like color, dimensions, strings. These values can be referred in our app Kotlin files. So again, you can see here's the values folder. It contains the colors, like the colors, all the colors that we'll be using in our app. We have to define it over here. The strings our app will be using, or the styles our app will be using. We will we'll be touching these files later in our sessions. For beginning, let's just move on over here. Let's just move on to our activity main. So in today's session, we just got 20 minutes. Okay. So I will be just making a birthday card app. That's a pathway 3. Let me introduce you to the design to the activity main.xml file. So on the top right side, you can see that we have three options. That's code. That's all the code of the XML file or the code of the XML code of a layout. And then the split option wherein you can have the XML code and your and you can say your design view also, the XML code view and the design view side by side. But in this session, but today we only touching the design view. So in design view, here we have the palette, and below palette we have the component tree. The palette contains all the things like all the views that we'll be using, the buttons or the text views or the image view. And the component tree will be telling that how those views are arranged in a layout. Like first we have the constraint layout, that's in our whole screen. That's on a whole screen. And below that constraint layout, we have a text view, or above that constraint layout, we have a text view. Then on the uh, in the middle, you have how your designing of the app is going. You can watch over here. And on the right side, you have an attribute column that contains all the attributes of a view. Like this is a text view, so all the attributes in a view, or the layout. Like when I clicked on the layout, all the attributes of layout appears. So now going back to our pathway setup, we have already set up our code. Okay, another thing that I want to tell you about the user interface or the UI of an app. So the UI of an app is what you see on the screen. So everything that appears on the screen is the UI of your app. The UI consists of the layouts, and the UI consists of the views, and those views are arranged in a view group, or you can say a layout view group or a layout. So what do you mean by view? So in Android, views are the buttons or the text views or some icons, or some scrollable or some checkboxes. Those are all views. And view groups are when you arrange everything, when you group everything together, all the views together, you group them in a view group. The view group tells that how those views are to be arranged. So here we were using only one kind of view group, that is constraint layout, and other view groups we won't be touching right now, but you can still explore them later when you were doing other pathways. So again, let us run our app, but now we will. So as I said that this is a text view, and to display any text on your app, you will be using a text view. So just click on the text view, and in the attribute column you will see that it's written in the attribute column, just locate this text attribute, and you can see the hello world written. Now change this text to uh, anything that you want. Welcome to, let me keep it short as there's less space. Let me give like hey, and then when again I rerun my application, it's not changed. Hey, you can see here it's changed. Let me just increase the size. Here you can see hey written, a little hey written over here. So when I rerun my application, open it in Visor, you can see this hey written over here. Uh, Now another thing that I would like to show, just in your developers option, well, it's in my note. Well, it's in my quick view only. When you in a developers option, when you click on show layout bounds, you can see the layout. You can see these layouts of the that your UI is using. Like this is an icon, then this is another layout it's using, then this is some sort of text, and that all is bundled in a view group. And these all view groups are bundled in another view group. So when you see your app over here, you can see the text view over here. It's like this was the area given to the text view, and this is our text. So the hey written over here, it's very small. So just let us increase the size of the text. Now scroll, uh, uh, first select this view so that its attributes appear, and then scroll down to text size. Just increase the size to 34 SP. So SP, you can see you have to write SP. So SP is a unit of, you can say that unit the Android used to measure the size of a text. So they are basically two units, DP and SP. So like we have centimeters and meters to measure the distances, the Android uses DP and SP. DP it uses to measure the distances between views and view groups, and the SP it uses to measure the size of the text. So uh, like I wrote text size as 34 SP, the size of my text is increased, but still this text is assigned is aligned not to the center. I want that to be aligned the center of my app. So again, select this view. Now go down to the attributes and look at gravity attribute. Just click on this flag option and click on the center and then apply. And now you can see that our hay appears in the center. So what this gravity option, what this gravity do is that everything you write in between in this text view is just aligned over wherever you want, like in center or uh, in bottom. If you want to align the text in the on the bottom, just deselect the center one, click on apply. The text appears on the bottom. Now, if you want to apply it on the bottom center, just click on bottom. That's already clicked, and then the center. Click on apply. It appears on the bottom center. So now let me rerun my app. Yes. So you can see that it's appearing on the center bottom of my text view. Now getting back to our birthday card. Okay, that's all I've explained. Adding text in views to your layout. Okay, that's also explained. Now let me tell you another thing that's about the constraints. So in the layout, just look at this constraint widget under the layout. So here you can see some blue linings. Let me cut this. Let me remove this text layout, and now I will add another text view. So when you add a new text view, you can see now there are no linings that was appearing in the last text view we were using. So those linings were about a constraint. So whenever you use a constraint layout, you have to set the constraint. So what constraint tells about that how far the things are aligned from the edges, or how far the view is aligned from another view or another layout. So if you don't add constraints in your while using constraint layout, you can see this red exclamation marks. That's an error. So to add constraint, just simply click on this plus icon or that's appearing on the constraint widget. Uh, just click it on four of the sides. Now our view is constrained and it's in the center. Now what these numbers are telling, these numbers are telling the margin between the constraint layout, and this view. This is the top margin, and these are the left and right margin. That's the bottom margin. So let's see what margin we have to set. So in top it says change the top margin to 60, and also we can infer from this image that we have to set the left margin also to the 16 itself. 16. So let's set it to 16 and left also to 16. Okay. Now moving forward with our pathway. Also, we just set the bottom and the right margin to 16. And then just put your text over here. So yes, now it's appears to be, now we have to write that happy birthday message over here in our text view. Go to the text attribute and type happy birthday Sam. It appears, but it's small. It's too small. Just increase the text size a bit. Increase text size to around 30. Because 24 will be enough. Okay, so you can see that Sam is uh, now everything. Let's increase the size, the horizontal size of our text view, so that appears in one line. Yes. Okay, so now it somehow resembles to what it's in the code lab. Now it says that drag a new text view from the palette and drop it near the bottom right of your app layout like this, and then again set the bottom and the right to 16. That will be a sender's message that will contain the sender's name. So drag another text field and place it somewhere in bottom right. Just add the constraints, set the margin to 16. Okay, now we will change the text to sender's name. Let's just increase the font size or the text size. Okay, so now that's the basic text that will be appearing on our app. And now let's just rerun this app. And you can see on your mobile, on your app, that your app now contains two text fields. Uh, yes, now it's contained two text fields. One is happy birthday and from the sender name. Okay, now get back. Now let's get back to our. Let's move on. Add styles to the text. So here it appears. We can also add text styling, style to our text, like increasing the font size that I just told you, and you can also change the font style from from the font family. It's here from the font family attribute. Here, well, I will just leave it to default, and there are more attributes where you can add the background, the text color attribute if you want to give color to your text, or the text background. But you can explore them later. Since we are running out of time, let's move on with our code lab. Now, another thing that I would like to tell you, that the text that's appearing over here, you can see a yellow exclamation. Just click on this yellow exclamation and you will see a fix. Click on fix, and just so what happening is like you wrote this text in English, but the user, he don't know English, so he uses in mobile, and the default language of his mobile is Korean or the Japanese or the German or the French. So if you don't use, if you don't do this, if you don't extract it from a string resource, so what will happen that when the another user whose language is not same as English, whose phone default language is not same as English, he will the text will appear in English also. The text will only appear in English in his phone also. So, but when you extract string resources like this, so what will happen that if the phone's default language is French, the text will automatically be converted into the French by the Google translation libraries that are embedded in this. Similarly, for the Emma also, for second text view, just fix it and click on OK. So the what we were doing earlier, that we were hard coding the strings, but now we are not hard coding the strings. We are extracting them from a string folder. Let me just open up an Android view, and then you go to the resources, values, and click on the strings. Now in this folder, you can say that Android studios are automatically generated this code. When you fix that warning, it stores a string that is named Happy Birthday Sam, and the value of the string is Happy Birthday Sam, and same for the another text field. Now getting back to our UI, let's follow with the code lab. Now next you can see the solution, or you can find the solution on this link, the summary, and more resources to learn about building the about the Kotlin, about the views, text views, and other layouts. So now let's move on to next code lab, that's adding images to your Android app. Take this code lab. Okay, you can read the introductions, the setup of your app. uh, okay, the setup of your app contains, okay, let's go out with the setup. Let's go with this setup. The setup of our app, herein we have to first add the image in our app. You need to first download a image from here. The link of the image that we will be using is provided here. Then, as I said before, that all the image that you'll be using in your app goes in the drawable folder. Now you can directly right click and put it over here, but also another way of doing that is go to the view, and then go to the view tool windows, then resource managers. Go to the view tool windows, and then resource manager, and then click on this add button, import a drawable. I'll be importing it from located in, it's on my desktop, happy birthday.png. Click on OK. Yeah, that's the file. Okay, I was using another, no, that's not the one. Let me just download it. Save images on my desktop. Now it's in on my desktop. Import drawable android party.png. Click OK. Next, and import. Let me minimize it, and then you can see in my here in the driver folder. In the driver folder, now we have that image that we have to use. Now you just cannot drag this image and put it in your app. For using images in your app, you have to use that image view. Just drop it over here, and then select the image that we'll be using. It will appear here when once you put it in your drawable folder. Click on OK. The image is too small. Let me just increase the size. Okay, it's not imported properly. Okay, some error going on. Try it another way. Right now I'm facing some issues, but in your it might be working well. We try with another image. Okay, it's working fine with another image. You can always check the source of the image from here. Showing some error. There's some render problem. Okay, so let me just skip this part. Let me just use this only this image. Sorry for that. It's showing some render problem. But in your case, I think it's not. It might not be showing. So just put an image in the between and just expand it to the end. You can put the image of the birthday boy over here. Okay, so as you saw that when I was expanding it this much, it just covered that text view over here. So it's because the if you imagine it as a stack, the at the bottom of the stack we have constraint layout, then we have the text view one, and then we have the text view two, and then the image view. So the image view is on the top and it covers all the text. So if you want anything to be displayed on the top and you don't care about the rest of the if views if they are covered, so just put other views on the top of the stack. So let me put drag them and drop it in below. And now you can see that happy birthday stamp, it appears on the image. Yes, happy birthday stamp, it's appearing on this image. So that's how the you can say the views are arranged in your constraint layout. Uh, just stretch it to maximum and then add the constraint also. So yeah, here we finishes our app or other code lab. Add a new image. You can read all the documentation over here that it writes says adding new images. there are some also the code lab contains some good coding practices, some tips for coding practices, some tips for good coding practices. That's how our app should have appeared. That render error would not have occurred. Solution code, you can always see the solution code from the GitHub. Here's the summary and other documentation and some practice material provided by the code labs. So let me get back to my app, and I think my phone got disconnected. Let me connect it again. Okay, now it's connected. Let me run this app. Appear on Visor. Yeah, it will appear on Visor. So it's not updated, I guess. Let me rerun it. Okay, let me show you that how your app should have appeared if everything was working fine. So that's how you can just ignore that dark color. Okay, so that's how your app should have appeared. That's the image view and the background and the two text views. So here we complete some basics of our Android development or basics designing of our Android. You can browse to the layouts. You can read them on Google or the material that's provided or in other code labs or pathways. In later pathways, we will be covering in this, or you can do this in advance. You can also see there are some buttons. You can add some buttons. There are types of the buttons, and also you can see that here some buttons are having this download, and some containers they are having this download icon over here. It's because these are not available in the native Android library. You have to download them externally, or you can just download by clicking this download link. They will download on your system, and then you can use them. So that's how we end our session. And about this and the fourth pathway, we expect you all to do it on your own, as it just contains the idea of using a button and then some if-else statements that we have covered already, and then make a dice using all those logic. Okay, let me get back to the PPT. So here we conclude our session. Thank you. And one common doubt that I was getting, like many were asking, if we is there any registration, or those who have not registered for the session can will it be beneficial that they will get the batches and batches and the certificates? Then yes, the registration, there is not no such registration for this Android Study Jam. There's just the curriculum provided by the Google, and the link for the curriculum is been given to you all. You can go there and do all the pathways on your own. These sessions are just conducted so that we can get your progress, that how much you had done, and we can guide you, or we can solve your doubts uh, or anywhere you're getting stuck. So thank you all for coming, and that's where I end myself.
Thank you, Vatul. This was all for today. Hope you guys found this session really helpful. We are truly humbled by your presence. In case of any questions, you may ask it in the chat box, or else you can leave the meeting. Hope to see you in our next session. Have a great evening.